Alright, what's up, y'all? My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. Today is the 21st of November, 2025. This is our main side, one of the fourths of In the Image Clothing Company, where we allow the human body to work. We do that through clothing, the only thing physically placed on our physical bodies. The body is just a mechanical machine, placed onto a rock in space. As you can actually see here, I'm on a rock, okay? There's just a center line to the human body. The sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw. The jaw naturally stabilizing the entire body. All these things need to stay over Earth's center of gravity, okay? We place clothing on our bodies, and it has to stay centered, fit correct, where we discuss clothing sits for everybody, and ideally, in every case that we can, be made from 100% natural materials. The human body is only natural. Natural, neutral, and normal are synonyms within the human body's functioning, okay? There's a neutral to every position of every joint. So that's what we do, allowing the body to work. It's physically impossible to train it to do anything because you can't train to something like a center of gravity. You can't train to a neutral between internal rotation or external rotation, okay? In the forearm, in the entire arm, in the lower leg. I'm on this rock and I'm in bare feet, and I'll get to it, right? But the lower leg has its own rotations, and the entire leg has its own rotations. Okay, straight out from the pinky finger and the pinky toe forward are the neutrals, and then we have motion outside of that. And there's no way to train to a neutral. So we can only allow the body to work, and the body would just work. If it never had been in a modern man-made world, especially this right-handed world that we live in, okay, the body wouldn't be altered. If the body had never had anything man-made placed onto it to alter the musculature that all contracts to the center line, okay, the body would never be altered. Musculature connects from the outside of the shoulder to the center of the body at the sternum here in the front, evenly on both sides. From the outside of the shoulder into the spine in the center, evenly on both sides. And there you go. Feet at the base of us, grip arches inward, opposing the center line and keeping us vertical on Earth's center of gravity. So, this video is actually titled, "The Feet Only Work Barefooted," okay? We've got a lot of videos talking about the feet. Yeah. Okay, yesterday I made a video titled, "There is Only One Way the Feet Work." There was also one back-to-back right next to it that I made titled, "There is Only One Way the Hands Work." Okay? So, there's only one way the feet work, okay? There is only one way the feet work. But we wear shoes, and so we talk about a lot of things with shoes. And we don't have and we won't be making shoes, as in the Image Clothing Company. It's really about the ankles up as far as our products go. Well, just meaning not shoes is that's really what I mean, okay? But we wear shoes, and that's wonderful. But all shoes can be to allow the body to just continue to do the only thing that God designed it to do, designed in the image of God, in the Image Clothing Company. That's how we allow the body to work, is because it's not our design. And that's how I can say things so bold, because it's not my opinion. Don't believe me, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. Don't believe In the Image Clothing Company on anything we say, anybody at the team, ever. But truth is truth, and God designed the body. We have no say over how it operates. So, yeah, we didn't design it, we can't decide it. An episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, another one of our fourths, we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things. We're just all human beings, placed on the same earth, designed by one God. We discuss him as he says that he is, but we're imperfect, okay? So we don't do that correct always, or, maybe not exactly correct ever. But I will say this, we're on episode 178, as of last night, of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Check it out if you'd like to, okay? Because our bodies are really the only thing that we have, okay? An episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, the only thing that we have. And so what we do is we have clothing. protecting our bodies, and that's great. One of those clothing items is shoes, and that's great. Because being barefooted out here is, you know, something that a lot of people can't do in modern day, we'll say that, okay? 2025 and going forth. Like I say, we live in this modern man-made world that's placed onto God's natural earth, okay? But the earth's always here. The human beings were always here before the human beings designed shoes. And there's only one way the human feet work, okay? Or the feet of animals and whatever, right? Animals don't wear shoes. We're no different in the physical functionality than animals. Meaning there's only one way our bodies can do anything because we didn't create them ourselves. So the feet, placed in shoes, the shoes have to be intentional. And we talk about it, you know, the importance of zero drop shoes. The term, just flat on the bottom, heel to toe. No elevated heel or anything in the shoe because naturally our feet would just sit flat on whatever we place them onto and then accommodate with all the dexterity in them for what we're walking on, okay? Always stop lacing at ankle flexion. I call it, you know, for the alliteration's sake, the angle of the ankle. Right there, we lace our shoes up to with In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique. Nothing to do with us, truly. It's just the only way you can weave a rope across the top of the human feet. All the bones and ligaments, tendons and muscles in there, gripping arches and supporting our whole bodies. We just title it In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique so you can find it, okay, on how to not alter your feet from ropes. And we talk about a lot of things with shoes to not alter the body. Yeah, if I reference more videos throughout this about shoes specific, then there you go. But the feet just have to work. And really, that's what this video's title is the feet only work barefooted. Because when we put shoes on our feet, the only thing they can be to benefit our bodies is just a covering that just cinches tightly, well, snugly, very snug though, right around the feet and as close as we can get to the exact shape of the foot, because there's only one shape of the foot, okay? So, the feet really only ever work barefooted. The thing is, you'll see people and hear people scuffing their feet in their shoes. If you scuffed your feet with no shoes on, you'd have no skin on the bottom of your feet left. But they're the same feet that only work the same way. Just because you've placed shoes on them doesn't change how they work. And so really the feet gripping arches supporting the entire body, well, they pull in and back, right? We've got different length toes. So as we grip from the outside of the foot, okay, keeping feet in the outside of shoes. There's a video under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company, just because that's how our feet naturally work, and that's just how it feels in the shoes that we wear, is our feet actually sit in the outside of the shoes, okay? Keeping heels on the ground. A video under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company, opposing a lot of athletic advice to stay on the balls of your feet. The only way an arch in the foot grips is if there's a contact point from the toes to the heel. Then you can grip inward from the outside of the foot and have that neutral foot straight forward out the pinky toe, but the pinky toe is the shortest. So we need to have our heels on the ground to be able to have contact to grip an arch. And they always just would be on the ground. Again, no opinion, no approach, no way to see something. In the Image Clothing Company, just being imperfect human beings, we're opinionated where we are, but the basis of our company, there's no possible opinion behind it. We're just discussing a design of a functioning machine that we didn't design and how it works. And there's only one way, okay? So we give a lot of free modifications in clothing. We talk about the intentionality of things, like I'm discussing with shoes. We do that throughout the whole body and all the clothing we could put on it. We discuss eating, sleeping, standing, walking, sitting, breathing, hydration, everything we do as a human being, and just doing these things naturally, okay? We're all designed the same. There's this universal human design we have to get as close as we can to, because everything has a role to play in the body. The human body can only ever work activated as a whole. Everything's there and it can't just drag around dead weight and have something not do its role or try to have compensation from something else, because it just doesn't happen. It's just a machine and everything plays its own part so that it can all work. But this starts at the feet, okay? Zero Shoes, the brand. There's Zero Drop, the term that we discussed, but I also talk about Zero Shoes, the brand, a lot, and I have for a long time, right? Since a long time ago, in relative in the Image Clothing Company history, if you will. But they do a great job, and their slogan is Live Life Feet First. That's a brand that I personally wear the shoes of, and I just freely say good things about them, because we need that. That's what we do. Allowing the body to work under In the Image Clothing Company. Live Life Feet First, Zero Shoes, the brand, right? We do similar things, and there are other good shoe brands as well doing similar things, but that's a brand I personally love, right? Just me giving this information on how the body works, me pointing you to a shoe brand, that's where I would point you as of today's date, okay? But this is the big thing. Our feet have to be able to work with no shoes on. Because if you can do things with shoes on that you cannot do with shoes off, you can't really do those things. Not actually. Truly, not actually. The foot grips an arch, and there's an arch from front to back. There's also about a 14-foot drop here. But then there's also this foot tripod. And so there's an arch in the foot that comes this way, okay, from the pinky toe to the big toe at the forefoot. It comes this way as an arch. And the normal arch we think of from front to back, from the ball of the foot to the heel. And there's this tripod in the foot, kind of right at the base of the big toe at the forefoot, at the base of the pinky toe at the forefoot, and then back at the heel. The foot really has a lot of dexterity and motion to it, okay? We talk about nails, fingernails and toenails, fully to the tips of the fingers and toes, completely supporting them. That's why God gave us the nails, is to back the fingers and toes, okay? Where grip strength really comes from. A video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here. If we cut our fingernails and toenails relatively flat on the tips, we can stay locked in that neutral position at the foot and the hand. And then we don't roll out of that neutral wrist or collapse our arch out of that neutral ankle, okay? We talk about a lot of things with the feet, both of them, if you do have to, because it's beneficial too. They grip arches inward and they oppose each other, right? All musculature in the body only contracts, meaning getting shorter. The human body only pulls. A video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here. And our feet pull. So scuffing your feet, like you see a sports player on like a hardwood floor, or outside and just, on the ground, they're scuffing their feet and just like doing that forward, scuffing the feet. You scrape all the skin off the bottom of your feet if you didn't have shoes on, and an arch pulls in and back. The arches in the feet pull, they grip like the hands. So scuffing the feet, you're deactivating your whole body. You're taking your pelvis anteriorly, rotating, rather than tucking posterior underneath you to stay vertical, right? Keeping our bodies over Earth's gravity. A video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here. Your shoulders deactivate and go externally rotating, and your whole body up to your jaw, to the tip of your head, out to your fingers, all gets altered if your feet aren't working the only way your feet work. So, I'll move around here a little bit, and I'm in bare feet, which I'm rarely ever in bare feet, just for context, as of today's date, but I'm almost always in barefoot shoes, and with the level of intentionality that I put, and that we discuss, but me being the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, right, we being In the Image Clothing Company, just show how to allow the body to work, my feet, even being in the shoes that I wear, laced within the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique and all the things that we just put a lot of focus on, they're always working just like they're barefooted, but they have protection from the shoes. So anyway, you need to be able to do this kind of stuff in life because this is life, you know? I'm just gonna move around on these rocks. And you can see if I were to just like scuff my foot, like a lot of people, they'll jump and land with their feet scuffing on the ground, you just scrape all the skin off the bottom of your feet. You would really, really, really damage your feet, okay? But those nice gripped arches in the feet, I was thinking about titling this video an example of a gripped arch because that's what I'm showing, but this is better because then I can say that within this and then also just discuss the feet only work barefooted. Truly, okay? So anyway, right, you need to be able to just have dexterity and motion in the feet barefooted. And you can see the rotations in my legs. You can see how my feet can really accommodate. There's all this motion in the tripod of the foot. Well, this is the thing, is if your feet don't work how your feet work, right? And your feet are altered because they're within shoes that are altering your feet, there's so much accommodation that can happen motion-wise for the rest of the entire body as support coming from the feet. And if they can't do their job, then we'll have things like the hips, the knees, the back, the shoulders, the neck, the jaw, the entire body out to the hands and the tip of the head, compensating for the lack of accommodation that all the motion in the feet have, okay? Because there's a lot of motion in the feet. I mean, there's a lot. So, can you see this rock? I'm not gonna go there right now. If I fall, there's like probably about a 6-foot drop there. And in bare feet, you know, that's what I mean. In shoes, you might think you're fine. You drop off something and you got protection on your feet. But because your feet can't really cushion you, if they're not working properly, it goes to your knees, your hips, your back, your shoulders, your jaw, your neck. Well, your neck is your back, but your whole body will take the beating of your feet not being able to cushion, accommodate, and have all the dexterity to support your body, right? Zero Shoes, the brand, their slogan. Live life feet first. We have to. They're the base of us on Earth's gravity. Okay? So, if I'm up here, if I'm over here, any kind of position I'm in, right? Ow! I'm pushing it a little bit without trying to push it too much to show that limit, right? What am I trying to say? That line between your feet are very, very capable, right on the borderline of scuffing your feet. So when I said ow over there, like I said, I have not done anything like this barefooted just about ever because my feet didn't used to work well at all because of shoes and laces, heels on shoes, fake arch support in shoes. Yeah, clothing, pant waistlines, changing my pelvis position, collapsing my feet arches anyway, not allowing my feet to activate. Oversized tops, doing the same thing, traveling down, right? And wherever that is, we just talked about where clothing sits. And there's a lot of locations that will alter everything clear down to our feet. From our shoulder seams locations, from our short sleeves or our sleeve cuffs at the long sleeves, our pant waistline, like I was saying, collars, right? Keeping collars centered. We do the same thing for human beings and dogs with keeping collars centered. Where neck pain really comes from, it's actually titled What Really Is Neck Pain, a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company here. You know, we have to keep our collar centered, and so we have sometimes a seam in the collar that just won't allow it to sit evenly around the opposing tendons and muscles from the center line of the neck. And then our bodies are damaged down to our feet, right? And then you can't really do anything with your feet because they can't oppose the center line gripping arches if part of your body is just falling off to the side. Your feet can't oppose the center line gripping arches, not only from the collar being imbalanced, but from oversized tops in this right-handed world falling to your dominant side, right? Tops are like a cage for the shoulders. They need to just lock the shoulders in place because the musculature contracts, the human body only pulls to the center line. It has to be even on both sides when there's a center line on Earth's center of gravity, okay? So, yeah, it's from anywhere and everywhere in your body, right? The importance of even short sleeves won't allow your feet to grip arches evenly. If you've got a short sleeve sitting on one of your forearms, limiting its rotations, well, that's limiting the rotation from your arm down to your foot, and the arches grip inward, okay? Uneven shoe tying, uneven drawstrings, rotating the hips, anything rotating the body, right? The feet have to evenly oppose the center line to pull. There's opposition in all things, as we talked about within the gospel of Jesus Christ. One side pulls in, opposing the other side pulling in, and now we're stable. And if the feet are pointing out, like you see so many people in modern day, in external rotation, just half of their body's rotation from internal, starting at that neutral, okay? But the feet sticking out, they can't grip in. The foot grips in from the outside of it. You have to start at the outside to pull in. And the pinky toe is the shortest. Okay? Just like the pinky finger. We talked about involving the pinky finger in daily life. Okay? So, anyway, the feet just have to work. I want to make it very clear, I was pushing it a little bit there. I scuffed my foot. Doing what I did right about over here behind me on this rock when I said ow. It didn't really hurt all that much, but it was more of like, shoot, I don't want to hurt my body. Because that's the point, is when you have shoes on, you can basically do whatever you want. And you're not going to scuff the skin on your feet, but you're changing the mechanics. The human body is just a mechanical machine. And you're changing the mechanics of your feet workings if they're not gripping in and back, right? The length of toes is just different. So when we pull an arch in evenly from the ends of the different length toes that start longest at the big toes and come out and back to the pinky toes and point forward kind of like an arrow to the center line of the body. When the toes pull their musculature from there to the heel, okay? Heel to toe, toe to heel, pulling in with different length toes. We don't just pull straight back, but the feet pull back and in, gripping arches, supporting us. Like when I was standing like this, kind of like a Spider-Man stance, if you will, shout out to Marvel. Like this, right? When I was up here like this, my feet are pulling in, back and in, because the length of the toes is different. And in this position, the inner leg muscles, the adductors, and the outer leg muscles, the abductors, are neutral. Neutral ankle, neutral pinky toe forward, okay, neutral lower leg, neutral knee tracking position. And so muscles on both sides are pulling, and I'm supported, okay, over Earth's center of gravity here. Because my feet are unaltered, and because they have so much dexterity in them, and the feet only work barefooted, okay? when I say the goal is natural under all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company, and when I talk about how natural isn't a choice, like some way you could choose to try to approach your body if you'd like to choose natural out of all the things, but no, there's always only natural. As I was walking over here to film this, I thought about this way of explaining this, where let's say you're camping. If you camp, if you never camp, okay. But let's say you are, okay? Or let's say you're out in nature, some way, somehow, even if you don't think you like nature or whatever, okay? Come to Poodle Parade events. I'll finish this story, but In the Image Clothing Company Poodles is another one of our fourths. We specialize in purebred standard poodles. We give information that applies to all dogs on letting dogs stay natural. Okay, we do a lot with dogs, the health of dogs, breeding purebred standard poodles, keeping less dogs in shelters and more dogs at homes, through a lot of information we give on how to be a good owner of dogs, interacting with our dogs as the owners so that our bodies don't get altered, right? Keeping elbows at the natural waist, the natural scapula position. Those are 2 videos under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. And so, yeah, we don't want to alter our bodies. Being an owner of a dog, we don't want our dogs altered by imbalanced collars, leashes, harnesses, whatever it could be. Okay, same with us, with our collars, needing to stay centered. In the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification, by the way, when I was talking about that seam in the collar, yeah, we've got a lot of free modifications. So you wouldn't have to purchase In the Image Clothing Company's clothing for human beings or dog products for dogs. To allow the body to work or to let the dog stay natural, we give a lot of free information. But Poodle Parade events here in St. George, Utah, we're based, right? The southern end of Utah, as In the Image Clothing Company, this is where we are, is beautiful. It's like this, right? I mean, I just walked over here from the house that I'm currently at, right? For these couple weeks here. Anyway, we do things in nature, right? Bring your poodles, purebred of any size or mixed poodles of any size. And we'll have a lot of events outside, getting people into nature, dogs into nature, getting people grounded and rooted. That's what nature does. That's what dogs do. You know, we do a lot for people like this, emotionally as well. You know, In the Image Clothing Company, there's a lot to it. Things for the environment and yeah, there's a lot to it. So what I'm saying, because that's enough explanation for this on that. Let's say you're in nature, you're camping, you're hiking, you're wherever you are, and you've got boots, but you take your boots off for some reason. Maybe you are camping, you go inside your tent or your trailer, and your boots are outside because they were muddy. And while you're sleeping, an animal comes and grabs your boots in its mouth and just runs off with it. Just the way that your dog might do it in your house, right? Wild animals, they do the same thing if they would do it, right? Now you don't have any boots, but you still have feet. And your feet still only work barefooted. Whether you have the boots on, they just nicely sit around your feet, In the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique. 0 drop shoes, the term. And just accommodating for the shape of the feet, stopping the lacing of the ankle flexion. Okay? Your feet still work how your feet work, and that's it. They'll only ever work how God designed your feet to work. Your feet just grew how they grew. You didn't do it. But what we, or you, right, human beings, mankind, including women, wow, right? Talk about a runaround. That's funny though. Cool explanation. Human beings design products. Human beings didn't design the human being. So our products have to work for our bodies. You know, hence the phrasing, allowing the body to work, In the Image Clothing Company. Okay. And again, I'll shout out 0 Shoes, the brand. Live life feet first, right? That's where those phrasings come from. It's not our design. We just have to understand it enough to be able to be intentional about it in a modern man-made world. Okay. I hear the noise. I hear it. I hear the noise. It's an aircraft of some type. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, your feet only work how your feet work. I'm gonna move around a little bit. Just some more. Okay? Because that's the thing, is what shoes can do is provide extra traction Noisy. It's noisy. There's construction over here. They're changing the natural landscape, man. And there's also some kind of aerospace technology up above me. Making noises. I'm trying to just talk about the feet working the only way the feet work. And so I'll talk in this accent that's not quite authentic to me while I kind of wait out the noise a bit that's drowning out the sound of my voice. And I'll tell you what I'm going to tell you here after I finish listening to this sail in the sky flying by. Now it's a little bit farther away, probably got enough, peaceful bliss to a degree at least for me to say some things in this canyon of peace. So please listen to these things I'm going to say about the feet. And while I do that, before I do that, In the Image Clothing Company music is another one of our fours. We do a lot with music, lyricism, rhythm and poetry, spoken word, sizing and setup of guitar gets shown to not alter things like the neutral wrist and the rounding to our hands, which correlate with the arches in our feet, okay? Hand arches, if you will. But yeah, there you go. In the Image Clothing Company music. I do a lot of, freestyle lyricism like that, so, yeah, when life gives you an aerospace noise, you got a choice. And you can make some music or you can do what you do with it and you can make it seem like something that's not what you need. But I'm going to keep talking about the feet, okay? What I was saying is the shoes that we have can actually cause extra grip. Give extra grip to the bottom of the feet, right? We've got shoe soles made out of things like rubber that are grippier in ways than the soles of our own feet. And so what that can do is cause us to have this like false sense of capability, right? So we push our bodies and we push our feet more than they could actually do it on their own, and the feet only ever work barefooted, right? Feet only ever work barefooted. The feet only ever work barefooted. The feet only ever work barefooted. But the amount of grip that you have is just the amount of grip that you have, because really you're gripping inward even when you're going down like this, okay? The outside of the feet's gripping inward, the outside of the foot. But this one is as well, okay? Gripping inward. That's why we need the heels on the ground. See what I mean? Here, it's more of a push. Heel on the ground, it's a grip. And the feet grip to the center line, in and back of the body. But anyway, yeah, we'll do a lot of things a lot of the time in life that our feet don't actually do, that they're not actually grippy enough for, if you will, which isn't a bad thing, but we get this false sense of being able to do basically anything in boots or shoes with soles on them that protect the feet by damaging their mechanics. You're protecting the skin of the feet on the bottom, the toes from being stubbed against something because you've got something around your foot, but the workings of the feet, a lot of the time, without knowing what you need to know, right? And you can't be held accountable for what you don't know. You just don't know what you don't know. But the feet and all their mechanics can get so damaged and altered by shoes when the intention to wear the shoes was to protect the feet. You see what I mean? So, yeah, anyway, here we are, St. George, Utah. It's beautiful. I mean, it's just what it's like down here, Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to show necessarily. I've moved around on here, right? Just fine. But picture this, you try to train to a deep low squat, it's physically impossible. With a heel under your foot, I almost don't even want to lift my heels off because I might fall down here. It's like 4 feet to this little area down here on this rock. But that's what I mean, keeping heels on the ground. That's why that video's there, titled that, under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here. You have to have your heels on the ground just because mechanically they always would be. There's no other option. Even if the ground is slightly uneven, well, it might be slightly uneven plantar flexed or slightly uneven dorsiflexed. Golly, it's seriously, oh, it's right there. About 14 feet down, give or take. which is fine, but just, you don't want to mess around more than you should. Okay, it's kind of scary, man. I don't know if I'd even live through that. Seriously, that's funny. Just how real it is, But oh shoot, you just have to keep your heels on the ground. You can never, ever, ever assess anything in your entire body to the tip of your head or the tips of your fingers if you start by doing it within man-made shoes that elevate your God-made heels of your feet off the ground. All right? There's only one way the feet could ever work. Like the video yesterday, there is only one way the feet work. It's no opinion. I get so bold and it's not about me. I don't have a choice. I don't have a say. But I know how it works. And I can show you this. Rather than just sitting there reading like a book from, a textbook in some kind of class and trying to explain to you how the human body works, I explain to you how the human body works while you're able to see mine do it. Preaching what I have practiced, that's how we do things here under In the Image Clothing Company. Okay? Golly. Right. Anyway. There's only one way the feet work, bro. I don't get to decide it. But, yeah, the feet only work barefooted. They really do, because it'll be the exact same feel. Other than the protection that comes from the shoes, if we have shoes that are just allowing the body to work, In the Image Clothing Company's main side here, our slogan, right? Allowing the body to work. Yeah, if we have shoes that just do that, then our feet will just work as if they're barefooted, but they'll be covered. So they'll just have a level of protection. And that's great, because sometimes it's hot. I mean, let's say it's not November 21st, 2025, here in St. George, Utah, which is like close to winter. I don't know if it's technically winter yet, but I guess, no, it's still fall time, right? But let's say it's summer, the heat of summer here, 100-degree Fahrenheit plus weather here often in St. George, Utah in the summer times. These rocks are hot. That's why we've got cold-blooded animals that live here. You see little lizards running around all over the place. There's snakes and animals that need the opposition, like the feet gripping arches inward, opposing the center line, okay? And that's how we're stable. Me right now, my left foot's actually just kind of on the toes and the ball of the foot, but look at the angle, right? There's just that one only neutral ankle. That's what I showed in that video yesterday. There is only one way the feet work. Yeah, we just got different length toes. And that's what allows open hips. Where open hips come from. A video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here. The biggest thing I talked about was the feet. Never address your hips before you address your feet. If you've got stiff hips, it's almost certainly your feet. We talked about pant waistlines and just where clothing sits. But yeah, you've got different length toes, man. And so that's really what allows all the dexterity is those toes. And then that's really what allows that neutral position for the knee to track and the hips to be open is the outside of the foot, which can only ever happen with the heel on the ground, because since the big toe is the longest, if you elevate the heel, it's like pointing your toes, and then the longest toe is the only one that can reach the ground, and that's the big toe on the inside of the foot when the foot grips an arch inward from the outside of the foot at the shortest pinky toe, with the whole outside of the foot on the ground, from the heel to toe. There's only one way the human body could ever work. What I'm saying, is just what I say. It's just the truth. It's just what I'm in this for life as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company to do. Deliver the truth to all human beings who are universally designed with eternal, unchanging information. The same yesterday, today, and forever, designed in the image of God. It's not my choice. But it's also physically, mechanically, legitimately impossible to train the human body. Truly, don't believe me. But I discuss it in such depth, there's no opinion. We just have to know what we have to know. And really what we have to know is it's always on the back end. It's always about allowing the body to work, letting the dogs stay natural because God designed them. It's not our choice ever, no matter what, okay? So anyway, the feet allow for open hips. And let's start lower. Let's go through the whole body real quick. If the feet are unaltered, just meaning barefooted, how they would always be unless we had man-made things that didn't even exist until we started to make them at one point as the human being that we made them for, right? Shoes and clothing, right? We are the things that make products for us, and they have to work for our bodies. They have to, okay? Unaltered feet. The feet working barefooted, because the feet only work barefooted, mechanically, right? Yeah, no choice. Then you've got a neutral ankle. You've got neutral rotations to your lower leg, okay? You've got a neutral knee tracking in line. And for context, my right foot is on this slanted rock that's like quite a steep angle, really, okay? And I'm still balancing on it, clear on the outside of my right foot because it's gripping inward, okay? The knee then tracking in line, okay, comes up to the femur. That goes into the hips. The pelvis can then be neutral on Earth's gravity, keeping our bodies over Earth's gravity. A lot of it's the pelvis, you know, it's the center traveling out to the toes and up to the fingertips or head. But the pelvis will only be able to be centered if the feet supporting the entire body from there up are unaltered, okay? And then from the pelvis up, we've got the spine connecting into the pelvis out to the shoulders. If the feet are unaltered, that's all fine. From the feet, at least, from our foundation. Unless anything happens in between, okay? From our shoulders out to our hands, the shoulder is the hand. There's only one way the human body could ever work, okay? From the hands or the shoulders up to the jaw through the spine of the neck. The jaw stabilizing the entire body will only be able to happen if our feet are unaltered, allowing us to be centered from our foundation on Earth's gravity, because our jaw stabilizes our bodies in the center of our bodies over Earth's center of gravity, right? The importance of even jaw musculature, the mechanics of the human jaw, the importance of the corners of the mouth, how clothing affects speaking, eating and drinking with the left hand, meaning non-dominant. These are videos under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company about the jaw. Okay, dude, we've got a lot of videos. Okay, we do a lot of things. I'm in this for life, man. We're only a little over a year into this as of today's date. 21st of November, 2025. Okay. So, the feet. It's the whole body, right? The importance of even eyebrows, the importance of even nostrils, the importance of even ears. These are videos under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company because scar tissue and chronic patterning gets built up in the body when it's trying to work around things like shoes, altering it at its very foundation at the feet. Laces, altering it at this very foundation being the feet. Any clothing up and through the whole body, if the body's being altered, oversized clothing, imbalances in clothing, ropes introduced to the body, shoelaces or drawstrings, just angles of things not sitting correct on the body to allow it to work, our bodies build up this patterning in them. And scar tissue forms when muscles can't just do all that they do and pull two endpoints together. And if bones can't sit neutral in their joints when they just have to track in line, our bodies will build up scar tissue, patterning, and damage. And anyway, that's the point. That's what we do here under In The Image Clothing Company, is get out of chronic patterning and scar tissue. And it has to come from the only thing physically placed on us, our clothing. Truly the only fix to human beings' physical problems. No claim, but it just is the only thing physically placed on our physical mechanical machine. The human body, okay? With only one way it works, it starts at the feet, first off. Shout out to Zero Shoes, the brand, again, because they do a great job. Okay? I've got the Ridgeway model right here. That's what I walked up here in. Hiked up here in, you know? But the thing is, if I couldn't do it in bare feet, then I couldn't really do it with shoes on. Not really. Meaning mechanically, position-wise, not really. I mean, if something's too hot, or it's too sharp, or it's too, you know, whatever it is like that, for my feet to really stand it, well, you know, that's one thing. but mechanically and position-wise, there's still only one way the feet work, you know? And it's barefooted, truly, with that intention of no alteration to their workings. You can't. I mean, you physically can't have shoes like a lot of people have nowadays. A lot of brands put out nowadays, you know, stretch in things, right? Stretch in clothing goes the opposite direction of the only way that muscles could ever work. The human body only pulls. There's just opposing sides to things, right? So even though we can do a pushing motion, it's just two endpoints of a muscle on the rear of the function pulling together, right? There's just opposing musculature to a function. And then that's how the body works. It's always just a pull, even if we're pulling part of our bodies away from us, okay? Which sounds strange, but that's the case. That's why there's that video. I explained it pretty darn thoroughly. Yeah, I did. Right, the human body only pulls under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. I referenced it throughout this already. But there you go again, because that's the case. In case you didn't know, okay? But anyway, here I am, and I mean, I'm standing. I can't really show you exactly unless I come grab the camera and move it, but on a, I mean, I don't know what this angle is of this rock right here, but it's a pretty steep angle, and my feet are gripping in. Even though my right foot's on the outside of it and it's angled down away from me, it's gripping in. Kind of like how I was showing on this rock back here when I was like squatted down, and my feet are still gripping in when they're outside of my like torso width or my hip width. Well, my feet here are, well, slightly outside of my hip width, and they're pulling in. Adductors on the inner leg muscles. The outside of the feet gripping arches inward, right? This is how the body works. That's how its neutrals is. That's the different length toes having that neutral ankle. I mean, that's just how it is. And so you can't scuff your feet in this position, or you just probably flip your foot over to the top of it, right? But if you're in external rotation, you can just jam your foot down. But this is good context. When I just turned my left foot into external rotation, my right foot started to slip, because there's opposing muscles, and my left adductor or my inner leg muscle on my left side didn't stay activated when my leg went from neutral, right, on my left foot to turning my left foot externally. It deactivated my inner left leg muscle up to my hip from my knee, this adductor, okay, and my right leg lost stability. My right foot started to slip a little bit. So that's what I mean, you know, there's only one way the human body could ever work. You know, what I say often and what we discuss is, if you've got pain in parts of the body, it's almost certainly coming from somewhere else. If you got pain in your shoulders, it might be coming from your feet or your back. Pain there in your back could be coming from your feet. Pain in your hips could be coming from your feet. Pain in your knees could be coming from your feet. Pain in your jaw could be coming from your feet. Okay? And not only could, but it is. That's where it's coming from if your feet are altered. You have to start there. The body's just a kinetic chain, a mechanical machine, starting from its foundation up, because nothing else up here even matters, really, if it doesn't have some kind of support from below it. Even if you don't have feet, just meaning anything you have below anything else in your body has to come first, because gravity, you know, we get pulled from the bottom up or the top down, whatever way you want to look at it. The human body only works activated as a whole. I mean, the core can never be deactive. I mean, I can just speak just fine while like hitting my abdomen hard. That's a firm hit. And it's not like I'm struggling to speak, because stemming at the feet, the core can never deactivate. But it's physically impossible to train the human body. Mechanically, truly, there's just only one neutral position to the pelvis on Earth's gravity. But listen, I mean, I can turn my head while I speak and just slam my abdomen, and most people would have a really hard time doing that. If your core is deactivated, like your feet sticking external in only one of their rotations, right? From internal to neutral and then external to neutral. If you're out of your neutral and external rotation with your feet pointing out rather than straight forward from that pinky toe, just because the length of toes is different, that's just how the feet work, sharing the weight on all the toes. There's 5 toes on each foot. You can have a different body, sure. Amputations, deformities, major surgeries, birth defects, whatever it is that has altered your body quite a bit or maybe slightly, either way. There's this universal human design that we have to get as close as we can to, right? Because there's only one way the human body could ever work. It's all there. And so compensation will happen, sure, if you're like missing part of your body, but we have to do all that we can to limit all the compensation of other parts of our bodies that we can have happen, right? And the toes are different lengths, you know, and so we share the weight evenly off the toes when we walk. And because they're different lengths, they just roll inward, and the pinky toe is the one that's just the last to leave the ground, essentially. I mean, they'll all leave the ground evenly if they're evenly sharing the weight, but it's just the shortest one. That's just the neutral forward from rotations, internal and external, right? You just dangle your foot. Again, keep in mind how my right foot is, and I'm still balancing. It's not about me, it's truly not, but just mechanically is what I mean, okay? Neutral, straight from the pinky toe forward, internal, external, rotation. Keep in mind, I'm on an angle. I'm not even standing straight on my right leg. I'm just showing for the positioning. The body is very, very active through all of it, always. It has to. That's the only way it could work. That's what I mean when I say we can't drag around dead weight, is if your core's not active, you can't activate your feet because your pelvis is not vertical. If your core deactivates, anteriorly rotating or falling forward, pant waistlines falling lower in the front, clothing truly is the only fix to human beings' physical problems, no claim. But this is why chiropractors don't work. Physical therapy doesn't work. Stretching doesn't work. And all of a sudden I'm preaching up on the side of the cliff. I get it. I'm over the top a lot of the time. I love it. I love it. These things don't work because there's only one way the human body does. And if we're not allowing it to, you can't try to get it to. You just can't restrict it. And it starts at the feet. And it starts at the feet before we could ever decide to make shoes. It starts at the feet with Adam, the first man who never had the opportunity at that time to have shoes. Right? He didn't even know he was naked until he sinned. Partook of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and all of a sudden he, you know, made some clothing because he felt bad about being naked. Meaning Adam didn't wear shoes. A lot of people just don't wear shoes. And a lot of times people who don't wear shoes have bodies that work a lot better if they're just like regular people living their life, but they're just kind of like barefooted a lot of the time, than people who go to the gym just about every day and work and work and work and work on their body to try to get it to do something within shoes with heels on them or laces damaging their feet, right? The laces are the top of the feet. The foot's neutral's on the ground, neutral from pointing the foot or lifting the foot. Look at my fanny pack line here. Horizontal. Look at my hand being my foot, neutral on the earth, that's horizontal. Zero drop, the term for shoes, flat on the ground. Half of the functions, the sole of the shoes, pointing the feet, but the other half of the functions lifting the toes. And that's the lacing on top of the feet. In the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique, no opinion. It's just the only way the top of the human foot is shaped. You'll never do it otherwise. Have a working body because there's only one way the human body could ever work? Truly? Truly. No opinion. Let's throw all opinions out the window, everything in life. There's only truth. Nobody could decide it because we didn't design it. The human body only works barefooted. Yikes, okay? The feet only work barefooted. There you go. Today's the 21st of November, 2025. My name is Evan Strong, the founder. I'm in this for life, okay? Of In the Image Clothing Company. We've got 4 sides to us. Check out the other 3 if you'd like to. Stick around for the poodles. Come to Utah, St. George, the southern end of Utah. It's beautiful. Red rocks, desert, It's like this, minus the construction noise, unless it's there. I'm not worked up about it in this video. I get it. I mean, I chose this location. Well, I prayed through where to go, but nature, man. It's the only thing that's always there. It's not an approach. It's the only thing. Everything else man-made decomposes. All the shoes decompose. Your shoes wear out and you throw them away. Your feet wear out and you're in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. You see what I mean? This is as real as it gets. The feet only work barefooted. And so I guess that's something to just really hit home again here at the end of this, or close to the end, however long this ends up being, right? Sometimes our videos are very long because these are eternal videos, meaning that they last for literally ever. Let's say I'm 80 years old and we're out there still like doing poodle parade events, and I'm just walking with my poodles and all the people with us, like, right? I mean, I'm just saying, probably that's probably going to be the case. That'll still be happening, something like it, right? At least this video that I filmed today on the 21st of November 2025 is still just as valid. The feet will still, in whatever that is, 64 years from now, if I was 80 years old, they would only ever work barefooted still, the feet of the human being. That's just how it is. And so that's what I mean is, these videos, yeah, they're long, and they're just chocked full of a lot of information, man. Free information. I mean, this is the truth. There's no approach, no opinion, no nothing. Nothing to do with me either, but this is what we all need, is to know how our own bodies work, because every body has one, right? Same thing as saying everybody has a body. All right? There's only one way it could ever work. So we give a lot of, I said it, but I want to make it clear, a lot of free modifications, because we've got things like In The Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification. A lot of these things are just decades old. Stretch in clothing didn't even exist decades ago from today's date, and then ever before then. It's a new thing. These materials literally got invented, conjured up, if you will, in a factory. Plastic, polyester, it's oil. You pump it from the earth and you make something you call clothing out of it. But then you get oil on your hands and you try to wash it off as quick as you can. Most people are going through life in modern 2025, probably most, yeah, wearing oil. That's what polyester is literally, actually, is just oil. It comes from the earth, and then they just refine it into little strands and weave it into clothing. There's stretch in a lot of these modern man-made materials, and the body only pulls, contracts, the opposite way of stretching. Stretching your body is damaging. Your feet arches grip inward and they pull. You'll never stretch your body and benefit from it. But muscles get tight, stiffen up when they're not able to just work and have their full range of motion that it's impossible to stretch to, because how could you stretch to something when you hit the other end? I hit my hand on my shoulder and I hit my elbow bones together, okay, on this end, and then I straighten my elbow all the way out and I lock my bones together in the elbow. There's no possible way to stretch, but what you have to do is have all the motion in your body by just not restricting either side of a neutral that it's physically impossible to train to. That's what I mean. There's no opinion, and I could just discuss it as thoroughly as I do, and so that's what I do here with these long videos. I'm in this for life, and this is our documentations of well, just what we do, regardless of when I do it, but this is at the, more beginning parts of the rest of Evan Strong's life, at least. Doing this for human beings across the entire earth, it's always the exact same fix. Allowing. There's no restriction. Unaltering the body, and then we can get out of chronic patterning and scar tissue that has gotten built up over years, decades, centuries. Also notice, I'm in bare feet. I'm standing on a rock that's on such a slant, and I haven't moved for 10 minutes, maybe more? A lot of people can't even stand in their cushy, soft shoes on a soft carpet or like a squishy mat. It's because your muscles need to activate. They need to be solid. Gripping, pulling. The human body only pulls. You step on a squishy thing and you actually kind of push your, bones apart, and your muscles get pulled on. I don't do workouts. I do a lot of walking, but I don't do workouts. You can't. And you can get stronger in your only working positions, but you can't actually work out and benefit from it, like trying to get your body to do anything. It's impossible. You got Earth's gravity, you've got a neutral to every joint and every rotation, and you've just got muscles only contracting. You've got a center line to the body, the center to the gravity of the Earth. I mean, there's just only one way this all can happen. That's why it doesn't work when people, do what they do in modern day. So many products, and that's what I mean. We don't have a sales pitch. I don't even have In The Image Clothing Company clothing available, or any products at all as of today's date that we could brand under In The Image Clothing Company. The 21st of November, 2025? No, I do not. We will. But this isn't a sales pitch. This is just the truth, and then we'll have clothing just to help people allow their body to work. But we also give so much free information. Well, this in itself, but free modifications, right? It's nothing to do with us. We're just here to help. We're here for a community, a company, not a business. See what I mean? No opinion, bro. No opinion. But people are selling stuff. Workout plans, diet plans, stretching, and all the garbage, Products that they've designed to try to improve the human being. You never will. It's impossible. I don't have an opinion on it. Don't believe me. Like I say, just let me seem like I'm just out here screaming and shouting to no one when there's nobody around or whatever, Or even if there's people around and whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. Don't believe me. But I'm speaking the truth. Truth is truth. I didn't get to decide any of this. But you'll never train your body to do anything. And you'll never, come up with shoe designs to help your body work. Zero Shoes, the brand, that's what they say. It's on the back end. They do the same thing as us. That's what I mean. That's why I shout them out so much, just freely, because they're so great at what they do. Live life feet first. A lot of people out there making shoe brands when the feet only work barefooted, really, truly, actually, mechanically, and they'll say, we've got this new technology that will cause your feet to do this. All the spring in your step and, whatever. Your arches will be supported. False, it's just impossible, mechanically impossible. There's no opinion, but you have to know enough to know what's going on, or you can be very, misunderstood. Well, that would be on my end. I could be very misunderstood if you don't know what I'm saying, but you can be very misunderstanding of the only way the human body could ever work. You can be very misled by new products and new designs and opinions of people. And really, the only way out is to know God, the designer of the human being. If we can learn who Jesus Christ is, the one who we're designed in the image of, then we start to understand what life really is, the truth of all things, the gospel of Jesus Christ. You go to the designer of the thing to find out what the thing is. And nobody could ever possibly claim they designed their body without just being delusional. And I know this might sound harsh, but it's the truth. Okay? I'm going to leave it right there. I'm not even going to say anything else. Except for, ow, my right foot does feel a little bit, stiff. I tried to flex my ankle, and I've just been standing in that exact position for probably at least over 10 minutes. So, thank you.